Well. You're listening to Gloves Off with Professor Buitrón. Alright then, I may say words on point, straightforward. No jibber jabber, everybody forward. Issues, facts and solution. Get it at Gloves Off with Professor Buitrón. Alright, what other thing is a revolution? Get it on point with Professor Buitrón. Gloves Off, no nonsense issues, politics, community. A better men for Laredo. Gloves Off, a revolutionary show with everything that you need to know. With Professor Buitrón. Watch ya!
Gloves Off is always on point. Bringing you the best on current issues, community affairs, and the happenings around us. This segment of Gloves Off is brought to you by the best, so pay them a visit. Check them out. This is Gloves Off.
Five. Gloves Off. I'm Professor Buitrón. I'm here with George Saldana from Interference with Child Custody, Penal Code 2503. And it's an organization that helps parents that are going through hard times trying to see their children. And it's a very great organization, especially here in Texas. How are we doing?
Doing great. Drive was wonderful. Got some nice Laredo air.
What's the difference between Laredo air and San Antonio air? It's a little bit hotter.
Yeah.
It's cleaner.
It's more dry.
In San Antonio, you get boiled. Here, you get microwave. That's the only difference. But I'm glad you're here. We've known each other for a while. We've talked on the phone. We've talked about differences, and it's something that. How can I say, the organization that you started helps a lot of parents. It's helped me, helped to many out there. And I want to thank you for that, because people stand up. There's a lot of parents that want to fight for their child. They just don't know how to. Some of them lose hope. We know the whole scenario. You can even elaborate on some more on that. But how did everything start? What led to 2503, the Penal Code? What led to it?
So our organization, Interference with Child Custody, Texas Penal Code 2503, we started it April 2018. This law that's been on the books for 47 years. Everything we're doing, there's nothing immoral, there's nothing unethical. All it is a bunch of parents that want to have a relationship with their child as the court has already deemed in the best interest of the child. We've been catching a lot of, let me retract that. We have a lot of support, which, again, there's nothing immoral or unethical about what we're doing. Parental rights, we have that right to visit with our child. And I don't want to say visit, but at the same time, we have our rights to raise our child without government intrusion. So a lot of this started, again, this law's been on the books for 47 years, and it's just now gaining momentum. And the reason I believe it's gaining momentum is because of social media. A lot of people are starting to talk. A lot of people are starting to use social media platforms and vlogging and podcasts to talk about these issues that were considered taboo. The law started in the mid to late 70s is when it was first enacted by the state of Texas. The reason they made that law was because before you talked about parental kidnapping, before you talked about interference with child custody, there was a term called parent snatching. Parent snatching is what it was. Parent snatching is back in the old days when divorces became more prevalent in the newer society. What would happen was mom and dad would have a falling out. Dad would go to work. Mom would pick up Junior, and they would flee to another state, go to California or go to Oregon or New York, and they would just basically file for a divorce there. And dad doesn't know where the child is, doesn't know where his wife went. All he knows is that, she's gone, and then that state holds jurisdiction. Just up and took the child and left. So you hear a lot of police officers say, well, if he's with mom or the child's with dad, Junior's with mom or Junior's with dad, it can't be parental kidnapping. Well, that's absolutely false in these days. 99.9% of kidnappings are done by an immediate family member, if not the mom or the dad. So back then, parental snatching was when a parent would take that child out of their home state or their county that they were in and just took the child and filed for a divorce. Since then, the UCC-JEA was enacted, and that was the UCC-JEA Jurisdiction Act is what it is. And basically that's a federal law that says that the child has to reside in a certain spot for 6 months before they can go somewhere else and file for a divorce. And it was to keep from parent snatching from happening. Now they implemented interference with child custody on the Texas state books. And that when that came into to play, what would happen is now it was mainly for the custodial parent back then. Basically, they wanted to protect the custodial parent from the non-custodial parent picking up the child and leaving. So what would happen is now a lot of police officers, and even back then, they considered it civil, which it was before interference with child custody came involved. It was a civil matter. Well, we don't know who holds jurisdiction. We don't know where they are. They can't be missing because they're technically with their parent. And so a lot of these officers, and they had a huge write-up on the federal level about it, they all just said, hey, you know what? We're just not going to get involved with these civil issues. It is a civil issue. They do have criminal consequences as well, though. Ever since it was enacted and legislated, okay, it does have criminal consequences. So when officers tell you, hey man, it's just a civil issue, technically he's right. It is a civil issue, but it also is a criminal issue and does carry civil and criminal consequences.
Sure. And that's where we stand, especially many here in Laredo and Webb County. Because interference with child custody, I think it happens every weekend.
Right.
You're going to go pick up your child. Somebody's going to say you're not going to see him. See you later. They close the door and see what happens. And a lot of police officers, especially here in Laredo, will not do anything about it. The first thing they'll do is, it's a civil issue. Sayonara. We'll see you later. And if they do it, you'll probably get a call from a police officer later on, investigator, and say the district attorney doesn't prosecute him. you know, I went through some issues as well as you, as well, very well as you know. And I was called by an investigator, and he says, we're dropping the charges. And I go, why are you dropping the charges? And I'm going to quote him, and his name was Juan Villarreal, badge 1195. And he says, because the district attorney does not prosecute. Really? But before my incident occurred, we were already trying to set up a meeting. We've been trying to set up a meeting for the last 6 months, because there's a lot of people that actually go through this painful experiences. It's not only painful for the child, which is the most important. It's painful for the parents. There's a lot of parents that really go down the rabbit hole, and we have to pull some of these parents back because it's dangerous. It's in a dangerous side of things. It's, you know, some people have committed suicides, and a lot of people do not want to talk about it, but that is the truth.
Not just suicides, but you have to remember that you also have domestic violence, that the parents just don't get along, and so now either it's dad versus boyfriend at the pickup, and then, you know, boyfriend shoots dad. That's happened. It's had where dad has shot mom, you know, in front of the kids, and all that can be alleviated, you know, if someone just puts their foot down and starts tackling this. The judge has already ruled what's in the best interest of the child.
Absolutely. The
judge has already said and I'm just stating basically for standard order, you know, first, third, and fifth at 6 o'clock, junior goes with dad. Okay, this is not a gender issue. It happens to moms. It happens to dads.
Absolutely.
Police officers, if you're watching, there's nothing immoral or unethical what we're doing. If the shoe was on the other foot and you couldn't see your child, I'm sure things would you know, you would feel the same way. But I urge police officers to change that mindset that we need you to intervene. You're enabling that parent, whether it's mom or dad, to hold back junior. 1, it's breaking the law. 2, it's going against the court order. 3, it's not in the best interest of the child. 4, you're totally disregarding the law-abiding citizen. You're totally disregarding junior's rights to have a relationship with his father or his mother, and you're not doing your job. So you're creating more work for yourself. That parent obviously is going to, I wouldn't say dislike you, but as a police officer in these time of days, especially everything that's going on, police officers need a lot more friends. And when you have, you know, parents that just want to have a relationship with their child, you know, we ask that police officers try to mitigate the situation out in the field. The easiest thing to do, the simplest thing to do, is to go up to that parent and say, hey, you need to turn junior over. I don't want to get in the middle of this, but you know what? It is a crime. It's a state jail felony. And if you don't turn the child over and they find you guilty, you can go to jail for up to 2 years and become a felon. Some district attorneys have stated that they don't like it being a felony. Depending where you are in the state, depending the issues that you have in your area, we've talked to the District Attorneys Association here in Texas. They all agree it's a felony. So when they say the district attorneys tell you it's civil, we have it from the Texas District Attorneys Association. We had this meeting in Austin at the Capitol, and I hate to dumb it down. I really do, because you have so many lawyers in there, and they can't lie to you, because legislative intent is how the law is written. It's not supposed to be interpreted. You're not supposed to give an opinion. Well, I don't think he was drunk, you know, or I don't think, you know, they stole the child. Okay, legislative intent is how the law is written. So, you know, we had to dumb it down just to get a piece of paper to say, hey, look, it is a criminal offense. It is a state jail felony. But we got that piece of paper just so we couldn't, as parents, we couldn't be lied to. Okay, our group, we started this snowball, if you may say, you know, we started this so we could help parents have that relationship as the judge has already deemed in the best interest of the child. And police officers, I just think that they should take a little bit more, or have a little bit more empathy for that child and for that parent that are following the rules. You know.
You know, you're correct in the whole thing here. I think there's a lot of miscommunication, especially in what I'm seeing here in this town. There's miscommunication because the police have one idea. The inspectors have a different idea of what's going on. You have judges that really couldn't care less. And you have a district attorney that's saying this has to be done. So the police are saying, they're kicking the can to each other, like hot potato, and see who gets it. It's not that, you know, and let me put it to you this way. If you were caught stealing, you're going to be arrested and taken to jail. Now, if the prosecutor or the district attorney comes out and says, you know what, we can't prosecute because this and this and this and this happened, well, that's a prerogative. But you, at the same time, you still went to jail. Understand what I'm saying? You were arrested. Now, it's up to the prosecutor to take it to court and prosecute it criminally. That's the DA's part. The police is, you have to stop the felony, what's going on right now. You have to stop it and you have to arrest the person. Now, we understand that police they can have an objective opinion of them. Do I arrest them, not arrest them, give them a warning, whatnot, that we understand. But for them to say, oh, we don't do anything about it because the district attorney doesn't, that's a total different thing.
And their job is to enforce the laws, not dictate what the district attorney mandates. They don't work for the district attorney.
No, they don't.
Right? So, you know, some of the excuses we hear from the police officers is, Junior doesn't want to go with you. He's scared of you. So, the way I combat that is, you know, Junior's not 18. I'm responsible for Junior, right? If Junior doesn't go to school for, 2 weeks, they're going to come to my house and say, why isn't Junior in school? They're easily going to do that to you, right? But you enforce your rights, Junior doesn't say, hey, Dad, go pick me up a case of beer and let's drink it together. He doesn't make those decisions. So
even if Junior was 16.
Right. Even if he's 16 and 17, the law says he is a child until the age of 18.
Absolutely.
Right? So until, and there's case law, there's attorney general opinions out there that state, that the child does not get to make those decisions until he reaches the age of 18.
This is, and you touched on two things, and I'm going to kind of backtrack a little bit. You talked about the violence that can occur.
Right.
The violence can occur all over the place. You're absolutely right. You show up and the boyfriend comes out and says, you know what, I don't want you coming around here. Whatever, he's trying to be the king cockerel of the hill. Okay? Some people will back down. Some people are going to say, well, you know what, let's get it on.
Right.
And when that happens, Junior's going to have to live with a person that you just knocked the crap out of. That's always going to be bigging on him, and he's going to be dishing the father and so on and so forth. So it's going to cause a lot more stress. And there's a lot of guys out there, like there's a lot of women out there, that tell their boyfriend, girlfriend, new husband, new wife, don't allow them to go with the ex. If you're that type of piece of shit, you have to withdraw yourself from that. Please don't be that. Because that's exactly what you are, a piece of shit. What you need to understand is that's not your child. Allow the child to go with the father and be a friend to everybody. It's not your position. Jealousy doesn't count there anymore.
Yeah.
But some people do not have the mentality for that. And it happens a lot, what you say. The other turn of events that can happen is just what we saw happen over in Minneapolis. You go out there and you tell them, you know what, I want to come in here, and you get a police officer that comes in here that's a little bit trigger happy, and guess what happens?
And let me stop you right there, because I know from personal experience. And I don't understand this, why police officers would want to inflict harm on you for you following the court order, wanting to have a relationship with your child as the judge has already deemed in the child's best interest. They're quick to throw a criminal trespass on you. You can't come here. So my question to police officers and to judges and to attorneys, which holds more weight, a criminal trespass warning or a judicial order says show up to pick up Johnny at this location? I was arrested for a criminal trespass going to get my son as per my court order. I'm still fighting it now. But again, my son was young, or is still young, but imagine if I had an older son and dad is being led away in handcuffs, just trying to have a relationship with him. And I don't understand why police officers don't want to mitigate that out in the field. Some of the other excuses are, well, I don't know if those are true and correct court orders. Well, just like any other investigation, if you robbed a bank, they're going to look up your name, they're going to go to the district clerk's office, they're going to pull all your history, right? And they're going to see everything you have. And it's the same thing. The detectives that do the investigation have the ability and the authority to go and check for the current court order. But instead, they would rather project so much harm. Now let me shine a little ray of sunshine in this. What would happen if police officers mitigated the situation just at one time? They probably wouldn't have to go back out to that address
Again.
over and over and over and over, right? Makes sense to me. Plus, the police department is increasing more manpower. Okay, send in 2 or 3 officers to go handle Paul at his residence because the ex kept the child, or George's residence. You know, every 1st, 3rd, and 5th, you're having the same occurrence all over town. And until they start fixing the issue, it's a felony. I didn't legislate it. It's been on the books. It's been a felony. And the reason it's a felony, you want to go back into history, the reason it's a felony is because, again, back to parental snatching, when they take them across state lines, okay, San Antonio or Laredo PD doesn't have jurisdiction in California or New York.
Yeah.
So it became a felony because then you could file a felony warrant. You can get help from the feds that have jurisdiction over the United States to go and pick up that child and extradite the ex back to Texas or Laredo or San Antonio or wherever that holds jurisdiction. It's also a felony because of trafficking. If here on Laredo and Webb County DA has stated the reason they like it being a felony is because if they believe the child is going to be trafficked over to Mexico, okay, going across state lines is one thing. Going across a country is a total different ballgame.
And it happens.
Right. And so if they need to kick down the door with a felony warrant, okay, they have that option. Now, some of these other cities that are up north that don't have a border next to them, they don't like it being a felony because, well, we don't want to make parents felons. So our group, Interference with Child Custody, we don't advocate to make parents felons.
No.
We don't advocate for them to even go to jail. If they go to jail, that's on their doing. All we advocate is that the parents have the relationship with their child as the court has already deemed in the best interest of the child. That's what we advocate for. Just follow the rules. You want us to follow the rules, we expect you to follow the rules. We expect police to follow the rules. And that's all we can ask for.
No, you're absolutely correct. And that's what happens. I think, I'm going to put it to you this way. Nobody wants anybody getting hurt or going to jail, period.
Right.
But I can guarantee you this, the first parent that goes to jail because of parental alienation or interference with child custody, it's going to run like a wildfire through the gossip centers, and guess what's going to happen? The following weekend, everybody's going to, here's little Johnny, and it's going to stop.
Right.
Okay? And that's just the way it goes. And some people might say, I can beat the system, but once you enforce it, you'll get it.
Right. But again, I don't understand where the hang-up is with police officers, where they don't want to deal with it. I mean, you know what? Come back here and I'll give you a criminal trespass warning. They don't want you on their property, or something of that nature. I just don't understand what is so immoral or unethical for that officer just to say, hey, you know what? I'm just not going to pay attention to him. I mean, again, if the shoe was on the other foot, I'm sure that officer would do whatever they could. And as parents, we're the protector. We have a Facebook page. We have 2 Facebook pages, a public and a private. We have an Instagram. We have a Twitter. We have a YouTube channel. And we have laid out all your rights, your constitutional rights, state and federal laws. We don't give advice. We just
Yeah.
We just can read.
You inform the lesser informed. That's the way it should be.
Right. And
Plain and simple.
It shouldn't cost you an arm and a leg when a judge has already deemed what's in the best interest of the child.
But this is a whole culture that's wrong. One, the police is not doing it correctly. Okay? And if you go to the court, the judges seem not to care about it. So this whole subculture has to stop. It has to break. Unfortunately, that's where we're at.
So let's talk about troubled youth. Let's talk about gangs. 80% of children that come from fatherless homes go into the system. 80%.
Absolutely.
And that was research done by the state of Texas, right? 80%. So when that officer doesn't enforce those court orders and Johnny is then kept by his mom, which is illegal restraint if Johnny says, hey, I want to go with dad, right? Now you're illegally restraining your son. Or, what is it, 9/10 of the law is possession? Possession is 9/10 of the law. So if you have little Johnny and you're not supposed to have him, and then the cop knocks on the doorbell, little Johnny answers, what are you doing with him? He's supposed to be with dad, right? I mean, it makes sense. But again, going back to the troubled youth, you've taken Johnny's father out. And then 2 years later, when Johnny's 16 and he's going through hormones and he starts rebelling and he's running with gangs, then you're going to meet Johnny again, right? You're going to arrest Johnny. So it's just a cycle that just, keeps going. Mm-hmm. And if you really want to help the troubled youth, bring them back. You can get into sex trafficking. We've talked about sex trafficking. When you take that little girl's father out from their life, she's going to go look for acceptance somewhere else, whether it's social media, whether it's, boys. Pregnancy goes up. 75% of children, of female, or 75% of young women from the ages of 13 to 18 are become pregnant when they come from fatherless homes. So when officers don't enforce that, courts don't enforce it, and dads are having to fight hell and high water just to be in the relationship with their child, these kids suffer.
Absolutely. And you see, that's what people need to understand, the residual effects of this. And just because somebody did not want to do their job properly. And that's the sadness of this. And police officers, we're not dogging you in whichever form or fashion, believe me. We have some great peace officers out there here in Laredo, and we have some great leaders that are peace officers, but you all need to understand that you all have to put your foot down and say, you know what, let's do what's right. Tell the mom, you know what, get little Johnny and take him over to the father and follow the decree, or guess what, turn around and you're going to go downtown.
So you asked about the history, and I like to tell people and use analogies. In the 70s, you know what a car seat looked like? It was just a few bars and a couple cushions.
Did you see the 67 convertible seatbelt that went around the neck?
Yeah.
I mean, things change.
Right. And it seems like from the late 70s to 2020, we're still told it's a civil matter. Why hasn't it evolved? I mean, we have to change the mindset of these police officers that, hey, you're doing a good job for the child and for the law-abiding citizen when you enforce these court orders. Stop throwing your hands up and saying, hey, man, I can't get involved. They're not going to take these charges. Your job is to enforce the law that's on the books. The court order states any law enforcement may use reasonable efforts. We're not telling you to pull the child from that parent. We're not telling you to arrest that parent. At least write an offense charge so it goes to a detective, so an investigation is done. And then when that investigation is done, they call that parent and say, hey, look, we've got these complaints. Webb County likes to use target letters. And from talking to Webb County at this District Attorneys Association meeting, they said that they send these target letters out, and that stops 95% of these calls. And only the 5% are the most egregious that need to go and get tried at a hearing. But again, we're never going to change this issue, and now that teens are more in trouble, you have school shootings, you have,
Absolutely.
you know, a lot of these kids are coming from fatherless homes, and people don't see the big picture. I have a son that's 16, I have a daughter that's 13, I'm going through it with them, and then I have a 4-year-old. And I didn't accept it. I didn't accept that it's a civil matter. I read in the penal code, and when I found out that legislative intent is how the law is written, I stuck to it. And that's, and people, I can read. I went to high school, and it might not have been a very good high school, but I can read. And if they said legislative intent is how it's written, it's not supposed to be given an interpretation, you know, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, it doesn't matter. Do what's best for the child by enforcing these laws. You know, a lot of people want to say, well, it's the Democrats or it's the Republicans, and Republicans are for more money and the Democrats want this and that. Hey man, it's not about that. I don't care about politics. All I care is about Junior, my child, your child, and whether they have a relationship with you. And again, this isn't a gender specific issue. It happens to more fathers, but I've met a lot of mothers.
Moms that have been going through this. I've
Right.
met a lot of moms that are going through this. And it happens in both both parents, both men and women. It happens. It's happening.
And we have more women in our group than we do men, I believe.
You see, what happens with men, what I've found out with seeing and understanding many of them, they just kind of get so tired, they're beaten so far back to the ground that they just block everything out and they just walk around like a zombie. When you talk to them about it, they're just kind of like fade away, and they'll change it to something else. And that goes on all the time. Most of them are just like, I just want to pay the child support, I want to get over it, and I don't care about anything else. Because they've been beaten to the ground.
Yeah.
Okay? And parent alienation starts with many different things. It can be like, guess what, you don't call your father now. And you're talking to them all the time, all of a sudden now they don't answer the phone for 2, 3, 4, or 5 days, or what have you. And it just escalates. You know, you have basketball practice with dad, all of a sudden doesn't show up. And then you call them the next time, and they give you some excuse, oh, it's raining. It's going to rain, so I couldn't go. Well, you know, we live in Texas, it seldom rains. So you're like, okay, whatever it is. And then you get to the points of you're not going to see him. You're not going to see him anymore. You're not going to see him for 2, 3 weeks, 3 months, years, and it goes on. And it goes on. So what leads to, and what I keep saying this over and over, and you've heard me say this, I go, the people that put the fertilizer and pour the water for parent alienation are the ones that wear the black robes. They're the ones that can stop it. They're the ones that continue with it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in litigation for 2.5 years, you know, for my 5-year-old son, and I still haven't seen relief. Countless and thousands of dollars. I already have a court order. I already have a court order that says this is what's in the best interest of the child. I don't have police to enforce, and I don't have the courts to enforce. So this is why we started the group, because I started this group because I wanted working parents to work together. The social media mindset has to change, where the system sucks. They hate dads. Texas hates dads. Oh my God. What can somebody show me an attorney or refer me to a good attorney, and I'm going to cry on Facebook? That does nothing. That does nothing. But you know what? When we have these sessions, when we have educational sessions, when we meet with politicians and we say, hey, look, Johnny has a right to see his dad. You know, Johnny has a right to be with their mom. The court has already ruled this. You know, there's no politician that I have talked to that has says, you know what, Mr. Saldana, you're absolutely wrong. Every politician that I have talked to, every police officer, every chief has always said, yeah,
You're right.
I believe that the child should go by what the court order has already awarded.
And the only way that can be done is officers that are on the ground say, you know what,
We're tired of it.
we're tired of this, and let's go forward. You know, and it hurts, but I guarantee you that there's officers that have gone weekend after weekend to some houses, and they're tired of it, and they just kind of like It's your turn. You're going to go this weekend. You know?
And they're so tired of it that they threaten their parents not to come back, so they don't have to come back. Change the mindset. Just like things have changed from the 70s car seat to a 2020 car seat, change your mindset from that and start helping the child have that relationship with the parent. You won't have to deal with gangs as much. You won't have to deal with pregnancy so much. You know, and when it comes down to everything, again, nothing we're asking is immoral, unethical, or unlawful.
Absolutely. And I want to say this. I want to thank you for standing up and for helping so many that are out there. Because you've helped me and you've helped others. And we just have to continue being in that fight. And that's the way it is. See? And folks, if you out there are watching this and you're going through a situation, give George and the group a call. It's 2503 Interference with Child Custody. You can find them on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. So, you know, they're all over the place. We've run out of time, and there's a lot to do. And I want to thank you for driving down from San Antonio.
No problem.
All right. Folks, peace.
Thank you.
Gloves Off is always on point. Bringing you the best on current issues, community affairs, and the happenings around us. This segment of Gloves Off is brought to you by the best, so pay them a visit. Check them out. This is Gloves Off.